You want to hear the most embarrassing way to almost lose your life? I still hate thinking about how stupid I was, but I'm thinking if I tell this story, maybe someone out there can learn from it. So here goes. I've always liked the outdoors and been a bit of an adventurous spirit, so when my friends invited me to spend a weekend up in a mountain cabin, I was so excited I was already packing. We all got there fine. There was 11 of us, and the first couple of days were so great, just lots of laughs, warm fires, a bit of skiing and long hikes when the weather was good. We'd even made friends with a group that were staying in another cabin a bit further down the mountain, so we spent a lot of time hanging around them. On day 6, 8 of us decided to take a hike up and across this ridge we had found that had these amazing views. We hiked, took crazy cool pictures, and after lunch we started to head back down to the cabin. The group was in high spirits as we trekked down the mountain, but in the midst of all the chatter and exploration, I found myself lagging behind. I figured I was a bit tired. We all got to an area where the trails get a little easier to navigate and you can keep heading on to our cabin or split off down to our friend's cabin. Everyone wanted to go and drop in on the other guys, but I think I just needed to rest, so I said I would keep on the trail back to our cabin. It was about 2 hours until nightfall, and even though the snow was already starting to fall, I was only about 20 more minutes of hiking from our cabin, so I figured I'd be fine. I kept hiking on and came to this part of the trail that I hadn't really noticed before. It was a small little opening that overlooked a small ravine, but the trees sort of framed it. I couldn't pass up the opportunity to grab a photo for my socials, so I sat there trying to capture the absolute magic of this place. It was a little hard with the falling snow and the wind picking up, but I was getting some good shots. I figured I would get a short video as well, as it was just the perfect vibe for the trip video I was working on. I didn't realize just how zoned into getting the perfect shot I was until the camera went flat and I looked up to notice it was already starting to get dark. The wind had picked up and I was still a good 5-minute hike from our cabin. As the sky around me started to get dark fast with all the snow, I felt a bit of panic surge through me as I realized I couldn't see the cabin or the trail ahead. I was determined to get back, so I picked up the pace and in my haste, I misjudged my footing and slipped on a patch of ice on a rock, and as I tried to correct myself, I fell down a short incline and landed hard on a broken tree branch that speared my leg. The pain was so intense, but the panic of knowing I now couldn't even walk was setting in. I had done some self-first aid courses, so I tended to my leg as best as I could and tried to gather up fallen tree branches and rocks that I could reach to stack them up and make a sort of shelter around me in hopes that it would block out the wind and snow a little. I tried screaming out for anybody, but as the temperatures dropped my voice started to become more hoarse and it was doing me any good. After what I thought was a few hours, I realized the friends in my hiking group today had probably decided to stay in from the snowstorm without friends down the mountain. That's when the gravity of my situation really set in. Like, guys, I was injured and unable to move in the wild while below zero temperatures surrounded me in a snowstorm. Getting the best photo could now be the reason I die. I couldn't help but break down. I don't think I've ever been this scared and alone. I hated not even being able to talk to anyone, to say goodbye. The night was a blur of freezing temperatures and howling winds as the snowstorm raged around me. I felt like I had been screamed at all night. I just huddled against the rocky area I'd fallen into and tried to stay awake, because I was scared that sleep might mean the end. To be honest, there's a lot I don't remember, so maybe I did black out here and there. I 1000% do not recommend. As the sun came up and the wind died down, I gathered all my remaining strength and began to shout for help. My voice was hoarse, but I continued to call out. I knew I was really close to our cabin, so I was hoping someone would be coming outside at some point. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I started hearing the faint sounds of my friends responding. Relief flooded through me as they came into view, their faces absolutely shocked with surprise and worry. I yelled out and just broke down. I was so incredibly thankful that they found me. The weird thing was they didn't actually find me. They weren't even looking for me because they never knew I had gone. They thought I was with the other group of friends that went down the hill, and those guys thought I had made it back to our cabin. They worked to free me from the tree branch and carried me back to the cabin, where they organized a trip into the next main town that had a hospital while I was laying next to the fire wrapped in warm blankets. I knew I had been incredibly lucky, I feel like I was given extra time on Earth for a reason. Every time I think of it, I wonder how I even survived. Everything was against me and somehow I pulled through, and I don't even know how. But I did. in here telling you guys. So don't be like me and start taking photos at the wrong times. It could get you in trouble and no photo is worth that. Have any of you had an experience that shocks you into thinking about changing parts of your life?